Hi, I'm Maryann Berry, and welcome to my Total Body Fix. This class is designed to help you to feel better. So maybe you've been hunched over at a computer, looking at a device, and maybe you just feel like your whole body is in need of a posture tune-up. So if that's the case, you've come to the right place. I'm going to check my notes here just to make sure that I'm covering everything that I want to cover before we jump into class. Just so that you know, this workout is intended to really stretch, strengthen, and reposition parts of your entire body from head to toe. And this workout is inspired by Egoscue's pain-free workout. Before we get started, there's just a couple of ground rules. These movements are intended for a general audience. So if there's an exercise in this workout sequence that causes you any pain or discomfort, doesn't work for you, just skip it and then feel free to just move on to the next movement. And if you have any questions or even any requests for a future class or a future video, please post those to the comments. Just know that I won't be checking those comments until the very end of class. So thank you so much for your patience. And I do want to hear from you. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in and get started. So to start off, we're going to do an analysis of our own postures, of our own bodies, by doing a quick standing weight distribution test. So if you haven't already, you'll want to kick off your shoes and leave them off for the duration of class. And we're going to just go ahead and stand with our arms relaxed at our sides. Close your eyes and just pay attention to the weight distribution in your feet. Notice if you have more weight on your right foot versus your left foot. Maybe you have more weight on the balls of your feet versus the heels of your feet. Maybe you have more weight on the inner edges of your feet versus the outer edges of your feet. So make a mental snapshot of what you're feeling here, and we're going to come back and retest that weight distribution again at the very end of class. Now, our second test is something called a range of motion test. So for this, you're just going to want to stand with your knees straight, and you're just going to bend over without letting those knees bend and just see how far your hands come from the ground, and notice how it feels along the back sides of your legs, along your spine and your neck. So full range of motion is that you should be able to place your hands flat on the floor with your back flat. Anything other than that, you're experiencing a limitation in your body's range of motion. So now that we've done these two tests, I was just looking at the comments, but it's nice to see you. Back to you, Keen Sense, and Trish Davis says hi. So hi, nice to see you both. So now we've done our tests, and we're going to get into the movements for today's class. And we are going to be retesting those movements again at the very end. So starting off here with an exercise that we call supine foot circles and point flexes. You're going to want to go ahead and lay down on your floor. And you're going to extend your right leg, and you're going to pull your left knee in towards your chest. You're going to interlace your fingers behind that left knee. Now you're going to want to check that right foot to make sure that the right foot is pointed straight up and down. So you just want to make sure, I'll show that to you from this angle, that that right foot does not flop out to the side. Rather, you want that foot pointed straight up and down. Now that we have that right foot straight with the left foot, we're going to make a circle going in the outward direction 10 times. At the same time, I want you to pinch your shoulder blades together in the back. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And reverse, we're going to circle going the other way. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and point and flex. 1, 2, 3, 4, pointing straight over, flexing straight back. 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're going to go ahead and let that left leg down on the ground. We want that left foot pointed straight up and down, not flopped out to the side. We're going to bring that right knee into the chest. Go ahead and interlace those fingers behind that right leg. And with that right foot, we're going to make a big full circle going out and pinch those shoulder blades together in the back. We're going to go for 10 reps. This is 4, 5, 6. We're going for that full range of motion here. 7, 8, 9, and 10. And reverse, we're going to circle going the opposite direction. 2, 3, keeping it nice and slow, big full circles. 4. I like to think of this one like it's like you're trying to scrape out the inside of an ice cream bowl with that foot. So you want to try to get the fullest range of motion that we can possibly get here. Last one, and point and flex. 1 and 2, 3, pointing straight over, flexing straight back. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Relax, place your feet on the floor. Bring your feet, imagine that you're laying on a yoga mat and you would want the outer edges of your feet in line with that yoga mat. So I'll show you what that would look like here. So your feet are wider, just wider than those hips. So if you look up, you should actually see your feet on the outsides of your hips. And turn your toes in slightly here. So you should feel a little bit pigeon-toed to yourself. Now relax your arms on your floor with your palms up. And we're going to move through knee drops, bringing our knees over to our right, back through the center, and to the left. This is 1. And we're going to go for a total of 20. 2. We're going to inhale when we go to one side, exhale when we go to the opposite side. This is 4 and 5. Coming back to center, pause, take a little break to reset and turn your toes in slightly. Chances are your feet have shifted. So we're going to reset on every 5 reps. This is 2. We want a nice smooth movement through the center with a little pause at the side. Last 1. Coming back to center and reset, turn the toes in slightly. Make sure the feet are still slightly wider than those hips. We're going to start going in the opposite direction just to change things up. 1. Make sure we're still breathing. 2. 3. If you have any questions about what these exercises do, please ask. Mostly I'm going to be focusing in these classes on doing the exercises correctly. So coming back to center, we're going to reset and pigeon toe those feet slightly. And we're going to start our final set, inhaling and exhaling. This is 1. But the short story here is if the feet are not slightly pigeon-toed, the hips get to cheat. So this really is all about the hips getting the full range of motion. Last 1 and back to center. Nice work. Now we're going to go ahead and come up onto our sides for inner outer thighs. So you're going to want to lay down on your right side with your elbow on the floor and your head propped up on your hand. You're going to check to make sure that your heels are in line with your shoulders, so your whole body should be in a straight line. We're going to take that top leg and we're going to place it flat on the floor. We're going to tighten the thigh of the bottom leg, flex the foot, and lift and lower. We're going to go 20 times. This is 3, 4. Make sure you're breathing. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Keeping that thigh tight halfway. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, feeling that inner thigh, 19 and 20, relax. And go ahead and rotate to your opposite side. So we're going to do the inner thigh of that opposite leg. You're going to go ahead and prop your head up on your arm. We're going to make sure that those heels are right in line with the shoulders by looking down. Your feet should mostly disappear when you look down. We're going to go ahead and take that top leg, place that foot flat on the floor. With the bottom leg, tighten the thigh, flex the foot, and go ahead and lift and lower. This is 1, 2, and make sure you're breathing. 3, 4. Now you might notice some slight differences from one leg to the other. I always tend to have one side that feels a little bit easier than the other. You might notice the same thing. That's just a sign that your hips are uneven, and it's a good thing we're doing this because this is helping our hips to become more even and more balanced. So I believe we are on 11, 12, and forgive me for not always keeping perfect count, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Nice work. Now we're going to go ahead and switch sides. Now we are going to do the outer thigh. So go ahead and rest your head on your hand, just like we did on the opposite side. Check to make sure your heels are right in line with your shoulders. We're going to go ahead and take that bottom leg, and I'll just show that to you one more time. We're going to bend that bottom leg straight back. So the bottom leg is going back at 90 degrees at the knee. With the top leg, go ahead and tighten the thigh, flex the foot, and lift with the heel higher than the toes. Now check this out. When you lift, chances are your toes are going to lift up like this because your hip wants to cheat here. So what we want to do is actually maintain the heel higher than the toes as we lift. And we're going to use that as our number one priority here, keeping the heel higher than the toes. And if you just find that you don't lift as high, that's fine. But your goal here is going to be to keep that heel higher than the toes. So we're going to go to 20, keeping that thigh tight on that top leg. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So the muscles that we're working here are really important, not only for the health of our hips, but also for the health of all of our lower leg joints, knees, ankles, and feet as well. Go ahead and relax, and we're going to go ahead and switch sides. So you're going to prop your head up on your hand, check to make sure your heels are right in line with your shoulders, and you're going to go ahead and take that bottom leg, bend it straight back, just like you did on the opposite side. Tighten up that thigh of that top leg, flex your foot, and you're going to lift and lower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, halfway. Feeling those outer thighs. 12, 13, good job. 14, keep that heel higher. 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Bring that leg down. Roll over onto your back. We're going to get set up for frog. You're going to want to place your arms on the floor with your palms up, arms 45 degrees to your body. You're going to want to start off here with 45 degrees at your knees, with those feet right in line with the hips. Now to get into frog, you're just going to slide the soles of your feet together, and you're going to let those knees fall apart. Now, checking the TV or the phone, whatever you're looking at to watch this video occasionally, but for the most part, you want to let your gaze go just straight up towards your ceiling here so that your eyes and your neck can just go ahead and relax. And don't press your knees down towards the floor. And also don't try to flatten your back. So you want to just let that lower back naturally arch. The natural position of the spine is that there should be a gentle curve in the lower back. And one of the purposes of this frog exercise is to begin to restore that natural curve, as most of us either have too much curve or too little curve in the lower back. So this is all about restoring that nice neutral spine position and also giving our hips a great stretch. Practice breathing here. We're going to take one big inhale and slowly exhale. And we're going to come out of frog by bringing those knees together. And we're going to get set up for hip crossover stretch. I want you to bring your feet about 5 inches apart and turn your toes in slightly. So you should feel slightly pigeon-toed here in this position. And you should have a 45-degree angle at the knee. So your feet should not be out here, and your feet should also not be in here like this. So we want to find something kind of right in the middle where your hips and knees feel nice and neutral, and the feet are so close together that the toes are almost touching, so you should be slightly pigeon-toed. Now the arm position here, you want your palms down with your arms up at shoulder height. For hip crossover stretch, we're going to take that right leg, and we're going to take that little bony knob that sticks out on the right ankle, And we're going to place that just above the left knee. So we want to find that little soft spot just above the knee, and we're going to place that ankle bone right there. Now with the left foot that's on the ground, we're going to keep it right in line with the hip. We're not going to let it slide across the floor. We're just going to simply rotate all the way to the side, letting that left leg come all the way down to meet the floor and letting the underside of that right foot come down to meet the floor. Now you're going to begin to press your right leg down in the direction of your feet. So the action of that right leg should be away from your body, but without using your hands. So both hands are going to be on the floor here. I want you to press your palms down into the floor in order to activate and engage your shoulders, and even try to press the undersides of your wrists into the floor. Continue to use the strength of your right hip to press that right leg down in the direction of your feet, and turn your head towards your right. Breathe into your lower back and practice deep breathing here, and just let your body relax into this position. We're here for about 15 more seconds, continuing to inhale and exhale, and we're going to use our breathing here to begin to stretch out those tight muscles of the lower back. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go ahead and bring the legs back to center, keeping the legs crossed. Uncross your legs and bring your feet back to about 5 inches apart and slightly pigeon-toed. Reset those arms. You should have your palms down. And this time we're going to take the left leg. We're going to take that little bony prominence that sticks out there on that left ankle, and we're going to place it right above the right knee, just above that little soft spot there on that right knee. So keeping the ankle hooked to the right leg, we're going to take a deep breath in and slowly exhale as we bring the right leg all the way down to the ground, and the underside of the left foot comes to meet the ground. Now we're going to use the muscles of the left hip to press the left leg down in the direction of the feet. We're going to press that left leg down. We're going to hold it down. Let's go ahead and turn our heads to our left, and we're going to hold this position here for 1 minute. I want you to press your palms down into the ground. What this is going to do for us is it's going to engage muscles of our shoulders. So this is all about the hips. It's also all about the shoulders. And this is really helping us to create a better connection between our hips and our shoulders. So those of us who are dealing with any kind of shoulder issue, the hip crossover stretch is really a great way to reset those shoulders and to get the hips back in line as well. So we're continuing to press that left leg out away from our bodies and breathe, continuing to press our palms down into the ground. And try to relax in this position and continue to practice deep breathing. Keep your legs crossed and bring your legs back up to the center. Relax, uncross your legs, and come up to your hands and knees for our first set of cats and dogs. So for cats and dogs, your hip joint should be directly above your knee, and your shoulder joint should be directly above your wrist. Check the distance between your knee joints. You should have 1 fist width between those knees. And when you look down, your feet and lower legs should disappear behind your knees. So we don't want those feet together like this, and we also don't want those feet spread out like that. So we want those lower legs going straight back. Now for cats and dogs, you're going to start off with a flat neutral spine looking straight down at the ground. We're going to begin by rolling the pelvis under to create a cat-like spine, looking under, spreading the shoulder blades apart and breathing out. Now tilt the pelvis forward to create like a dog, like a down dog spine, nice arch, bringing the shoulder blades together and looking up. We're going to continue to rotate through the 2 movements, cat and dog. And we're going to focus on really making this initiated by the pelvis. What that means, as you rotate through the cat and the dog, you're going to move that pelvis first. Everything else follows. Opposite direction, again, move that pelvis first. Everything else follows. And exhale when you move into cat. Inhale as you move into dog. Focusing on keeping your weight even from right to left and equal from front to back, equally distributed from the hands to the knees. Those lower legs should just be nice and flat on the floor. Inhaling as we look up, exhaling as we look down. And now we're going to transition into hand-leg opposite lifts. So come to a nice flat neutral spine and find a spot on your floor that's about 5 inches between the center of your hands, 5 inches in front of the center of your hands to keep a nice flat neutral neck. Now you're going to lift or extend opposite arm, opposite leg. Keep your pelvis even. Don't let one hip lift up and hold it for another 3, 2, 1, and slowly bring it down. Be sure to set your knee directly under your hip and your wrist directly under your shoulder. You're going to switch, keeping that pelvis even. Hold it for 3, 2, 1, and slowly come down. And we're going to move through 10 reps. Make sure that you're keeping your eyesight right in front of your hands and slowly bringing it down. And make sure that you're breathing and not holding your breath. Naturally, you should experience a gentle arch in your lower back. If you feel like you have too much arch like this, you can just limit your range of motion with your arms and your legs slightly. And you can practice gently drawing in with your navel in order to keep a nice neutral spine. And make sure that you're breathing and not holding your breath. And we are on number 7 here. We're holding each rep for a total of 5 seconds. And slowly bring it down. Make sure that you're placing that knee directly underneath the hip. 3, 2, 1. Bringing it down. 3, 2, 1. And last one here. 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. And our next movement is called upper spinal floor twist. Maybe you're familiar with it. Maybe this is your first time doing it. Either way, we're going to start off laying on our sides, on our right side to start, with our knees and hips at 90 degrees and our feet flexed. So that means our toes are up towards our body, not pointed down like that. So feet flexed. And the key to upper spinal floor twist is we want those kneecaps in the same plane. So we want that top knee directly stacked on top of the bottom knee. So we're going to go ahead and take our bottom hand. We're going to hold on to that top knee. If you can't reach your knee, that means you need to bring your legs up a little bit higher. So you should be able to comfortably reach that top knee and hold it in place. Now with your bottom hand, you're going to start off with your palm touching the floor. You're going to open up with that bottom hand and you're going to bring that top arm all the way behind you towards the floor, turning your head at the same time and continuing to look in the direction of your hand. Now at this point, you don't want to force your arm or your shoulder to the floor. Really, we want the knees to stay together, the feet to stay flexed so that our hips are staying active here. And as we hold this for the minute, that upper body, the torso is going to begin to relax and rotate. And that top shoulder is going to begin to come closer and closer to the ground. So breathe into any area where you feel restriction, or just simply breathe into the lower back and try to relax into this position here. With every breath, noticing that shoulder coming closer and closer to the floor, or if your shoulder already meets the floor, just noticing as your body relaxes and begins to adjust here in this position. Now we're going to go ahead and close it up by bringing that top arm all the way back to meet the bottom arm, all the way so that we close our rib cage completely. Take a breath here and go ahead and switch sides. You're going to want to turn to your opposite side here, starting off with your knees and hips at 90 degrees with your knees stacked. You're going to take your bottom arm and you're going to hold on to that top knee the same way we did on the opposite side and begin to open up your top arm towards the floor behind you. I'm showing this here from my backside view so that you can see what this looks like as the arm comes around. And you're going to turn to look at your hand. You're going to continue to maintain your eye contact in the direction of your hand, turning that head. And at the same time, again, we're keeping those kneecaps in the same plane. And you're going to want to breathe and hold this position here as we hold it for the 1 minute. Breathe into any area where you feel restriction, or you can just breathe down into the lower back, the area between the last rib and the top of the pelvis. As you inhale, send breath down into that area, and gently exhale, slowly allowing your body to open up and adjust. You're going to go ahead and close it up by bringing that top arm all the way back to meet that bottom arm, and roll over onto your back for a set of pelvic tilts. For pelvic tilts, you're going to want your feet to be about 5 inches apart, with your feet slightly pigeon-toed. So check in here, and you should feel slightly pigeon-toed to yourself. If not, take a moment here to turn your toes in. The angle of your knees should be 45 degrees, so our feet are not in like this, and our feet are not all the way out like this. You should have your feet right in the center. And again, reset those feet if you've lost that foot position. Your arms should be at 45 degrees to your body. So we can find 45 degrees by bringing our arms up to shoulder height, and then bringing our arms all the way down to touch our bodies, and then bring those arms out halfway, and that is a great way to find that neutral 45-degree position. We want those palms up in order to let those shoulders settle back and open up against the floor. For pelvic tilts, we're going to tilt our pelvis forward in order to arch the lower back off the floor. And then we're going to tilt our pelvis back in order to flatten our lower back onto the floor. When we arch forward, we don't want to use the upper body to create that arching motion. So instead, leave the upper body relaxed. When we roll back, we don't want to lift the butt off the floor. So don't lift that butt. Instead, you're going to roll back to a flat back. So I'll show you what that looks like here the correct way. So we're tilting that pelvis forward to create an arch in the lower back, leaving that upper body relaxed. And then we're going to tilt that pelvis back in order to come to a flat back, but we're not going to go past that. We're not going to lift the butt. So we're going to continue to move through our pelvic tilts here, making this a really hip-centered or hip-driven movement here, creating the arching of the lower back as the pelvis tilts forward, and then flattening that lower back as the pelvis tilts back. We're going to move through about 10 reps here. We are going to want to inhale as we tilt forward and exhale as we tilt back. And noticing as you go through this motion here that the upper body kind of moves and adjusts naturally, almost as a byproduct of the pelvic motion, but the upper body should not be the driver here. So the upper body is just going to stay like a passenger along for the ride, I'd like to say. One more pelvic tilt. Those feel so good. And we're going to get into crunches. For crunches today, we're going to interlace our fingers. We're going to bring the webbing of our fingers to touch, and bring your hands back to the very back part of your head, starting off with your elbows back on the floor, looking up at your ceiling. I'd like you to find a spot on your ceiling slightly behind your head, and let's maintain eye contact, I'll say, with that spot as we go through these crunches. Lift your chest up off the floor, keeping your upper back nice and flat, lifting 2 inches, continuing to maintain eyesight with that spot on the ceiling behind you, and come back. So what we don't want is this. I'll show you again. We want this crunching movement. Instead, we're going to keep the elbows back, the back nice and flat, and we're going to look up at the ceiling slightly behind us as we lift up. We're going to exhale as we crunch up, inhale as we crunch down. We're going to go through 14 more, counting backwards from 14, 13, 12, 11. And the purpose of doing it this way is to improve posture as we crunch. 10. instead of perpetuating poor posture as we crunch. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And go ahead and relax your head back, relax your arms on the floor. And we're going to bring our arms up to shoulder height with our palms up. We're going to want our knees at about 45 degrees, feet slightly pigeon-toed, feet nice and narrow. We're going to get started with bridges. So for bridges, guys, all you want to do is just lift your hips up and then go ahead and lift your hips all the way, or bring your hips all the way back down and lift. And we're going to go through 15 bridges here. This is 3. We're going to exhale as we lift. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So check visually as you lift, look at your hips and check to make sure that your body is lifting both sides evenly at the same time. So you might notice if your hips are off balance that one side tends to lift up a little bit more than the other. So we want to prevent that, and we want to try to lift both sides evenly. Good job. So here we're working the glutes, the hamstrings, the hips. So you're going to feel it in all of those areas. We're also working the muscles of the core and the midsection. This is our last rep here, lifting as high as we can. Go ahead and bring it back down. And we're going to move into our last set of crunches. Interlace your fingers so that the webbing comes to touch. And go ahead and bring your hands behind your head. And what we're going to do here is we're going to follow the same motion that we did before, keeping that head back, elbows back. We're going to just lift the chest, but at the same time, we're going to lift the feet off of the floor about 4 to 6 inches. So this time, we're lifting the feet and the upper body at the same time. Exhaling as we lift, inhaling as we lower. This is 5. We're going to go to 25. 6, 7. Making sure to touch your elbows down before your head on every rep. 9, 10, and trying to set those feet down nice and gently. That's tough. Tough for me and tough for most people, I think. This is 15. So what we're doing here is we're engaging those hip flexors. So not only are we working the abs, but we're also working key muscles of the hips. And last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And relax and go ahead and come on up. And we're going to get situated for our next exercise, which is going to help us to actually now stretch our abdominals, our midsection, the area that we just worked. This is called static extension position on elbows. To start off, you're going to want to come on up to your hands and knees with your hips just directly above your knees and your shoulders directly above your wrists. So for static extension position on elbows, you're simply going to place your elbow right where your hand is. From here, you're going to walk your elbows forward 6 inches. You're going to go ahead and bring your forearms wider than each other. So I'll show you what that looks like from the front. So you're going to pivot your forearms this way so that your hands come wider than your elbows. So at this point, your hip joint should be about 4 inches, 4 to 6 inches out in front of your knee. You're going to drop your head, drop your shoulder blades together, let your stomach relax. And we're going to hold this position here for about 2 minutes. Now, static extension position
externally rotates the shoulder joint, which is the opposite position of how our shoulders are in for most of the day. So this is going to feel quite challenging on the shoulders. This also releases through the mid-back. This is an area where most of us are tight and lacking mobility, the area between the shoulder blades. This is a great exercise as well because it actually activates and strengthens literally every single muscle that runs along the spine, along the entire spinal column. So this is a really great spine strengthener as well. You do want to just try to let that stomach and low back settle and sway. Everybody's range of motion is different, so your static extension position on elbows might not look exactly like mine, but you should be going for what a horse looks like from the side. So that sway back of a horse. So we don't want to necessarily walk around this way with a sway back, but in this particular exercise, this sway back position is helping us to engage muscles of the hips and spine, helping us to restore spinal curve and helping us to work into those tense muscles of the shoulders and the upper back. We're here for another 3, 2, 1.
And go ahead and relax, come on up. And we're going to get set up here for kneeling groin stretch. Kneeling groin stretch is a really great way to counteract thinking of the best way to explain it, but it's a really great way to counteract sitting is really what I'm trying to say. So what we want to do here is we're going to bring that left leg forward, and we want that left heel out in front of the left knee. If you look back, your right leg should be going straight back behind you. So if you had a mirror in front of you, your right leg would disappear behind that right thigh. From here, you're going to interlace your fingers. You're going to place your hands on your knee, and you're going to pinch your shoulder blades together in the back and lunge your body forward, looking straight ahead. Now we're going to press the big toe joint of our back leg into the floor in order to engage our lateral hip stabilizer muscles. And this is really giving our hips a workout. So this isn't solely about the stretch of the hip flexor. We are stretching the hip flexor. We're at the same time engaging muscles of the hips, which work in unison with the hip flexor. And at the same time, or I should say in opposition to the hip flexor, and at the same time, we're getting great hip separation here. So we have one hip in flexion, the other hip in extension, something that we need for walking, and it's a motion or a movement that we tend to be restricted in because of how much time we spend sitting. Try to breathe, and we're going to let our upper bodies really react and improve as a result of this hip separation here. So we're going to keep those shoulder blades pinched together in the back, and we're going to continue to keep that upper body upright and back. And go ahead and relax. We're going to bring that left leg in, and we're going to step that right leg out in front. So to start off, you're going to want that right ankle out in front of that right knee. So if you look down, you should see all 5 of your toes out in front of your right leg. Now you're going to want to look back behind you and check to make sure that your left leg is going straight back. So if you had a mirror in front of you, your left leg would disappear behind your left thigh. So your toes should be on the floor directly behind you. You're going to want to go ahead and take your hands. You're going to interlace those fingers. Place your hands on your knee in front of you. You're going to look straight ahead and gently lunge forward so that you feel a stretch through the front side of that left hip. We're going to pinch the shoulder blades together in the back, and we're going to press the big toe joint of the back foot into the ground in order to fire up and activate our lateral hip stabilizer muscles. Now, one of the cool things about kneeling groin stretch is that this is working muscles of our feet, our lower legs, really our entire bodies are working here. And this is a really great exercise to help us with stability and balance as well. So you might feel like you're a little bit unstable, a little bit off balance. I probably should have mentioned this at the very beginning, but if you need to hold on to a piece of furniture for some balance here, please definitely feel free to do that. And go ahead and relax. We're going to come on back. And we're going to come into a seated position with our legs directly out in front of us for sitting femur rotations. And I'm going to actually show this to you from the side view. Sitting femur rotations is all about working the muscles of the hip joint that rotate the hip. These are muscles that don't get worked very often in our day-to-day lives. This exercise also helps to leave the pelvis in a more neutral or balanced position if done correctly, and has a great chain reaction positive effect from the waist up as well. So we're going to put all of these parts together by sitting, bringing our feet about 11 inches apart. So our feet are a little bit wider than how we've had them in most of our other positions. You're going to want to put your hands on the floor with your shoulders in external rotation. So what that means is that instead of having your fingers pointing towards your feet, you're going to want your fingers pointing either out to your sides or back. Now from here, you're going to pull those shoulders back, so you're going to keep your shoulder blades pinched together in the back. Now you're going to tighten up those thigh muscles. You're going to flex your feet and initiating the motion from the hip joint. So you can even practice putting your thumbs in the creases of your hips. You're going to rotate your legs in and out, and you should feel like a twitching or like a contraction sensation right up in the top creases of your hips. So continue to maintain the thigh contraction, keeping the thigh muscles tight. And we're going to go through 10 femur rotations. I have that we're on number 6. The key here is keeping the thigh muscles tight. This is 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now we're going to bring those legs out a little bit wider. Imagine if you were on an exercise mat. Maybe you are on an exercise mat. You're going to want your heels about the width of your exercise mat, just so that you know how wide your feet should be here. Place your hands on the floor with your shoulders in external rotation. Pinch your shoulder blades together in the back. Tighten your thigh muscles, flex your feet, and rotate in and out from the hip joint. And you do want to place an arch in your lower back by tipping your pelvis forward. This is 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to 10, 8, 9, and 10. Relax. Now you're going to bring your feet a little bit wider so your feet are off of that exercise mat that you're on, that imaginary exercise mat. You're going to bring your hands to the floor, turn your fingers out so that your shoulders are in external rotation. Go ahead and pinch those shoulder blades together in the back. Tighten those thigh muscles, flex those feet, and we're going to rotate in and out from the hip joint. So the only motion that's happening here is because the hip joint is rotating, not because the feet are moving. So the feet only move as a reaction to the movement of the hip. And we're going to continue to work towards placing that arch in the lower back. So I was just thinking back to when I used to deal with chronic hip pain, which was how I encountered this method for realigning the body in the first place. And this was one of the exercises that was in my daily routine that really helps to get me better, that has really helped me to this day. I'm saying this to those of you who do deal with hip issues, knee issues, foot, ankle issues, really the whole lower leg complex, kinetic chain. Everything comes from the hips. So if we can keep those hips in the right position, and if we can keep those hips moving, we can really help everything from the hips down. So go ahead and relax. And we're going to get set up here for modified IT band stretch. So you're going to want to go ahead and lay down on your back. And you're going to bring your arms all the way up to shoulder height, and go ahead and turn those palms down for some added shoulder stability here on this exercise. We're going to start off with our feet about 5 inches apart. So we have our feet pretty narrow here, and you're going to want a 45-degree angle at the knee. So what that means is that your feet are not in like this. Your feet are not all the way out like this either. You should have your feet about in the middle to where your hips and knees feel pretty comfortable and neutral here in this position. Now to start, take your left leg and cross it entirely over your right leg. So we have that leg crossed entirely, so we're not like this. We're not crossed with the ankle at the knee. Instead, we're going to drape that left leg entirely over the right leg. Now from here, we're going to take a deep breath in, and we're going to slowly exhale as we drop our legs to the left in the direction of the top leg. And go ahead and turn your head to the right. And continue to breathe. And see if you can let your body just open up and surrender to this position here. So this exercise is giving us definitely a big stretch in the hips. We're rotating the pelvis, but really what we're doing here is we're causing the spine to rotate, and we're allowing the upper body to relax and to react and to open up as a result of the stretch that we're giving our hips. So all that means here is that you want to just try to let your shoulders relax. Notice as the upper body, the shoulders, the neck, even the jaw muscles begin to relax and release here in our modified IT band stretch. And we're going to go ahead and come on out of this by bringing the legs back to center. You can uncross your legs and reset the hips nice and even on the floor. We're going to start off here with our feet about 5 inches apart. Now we're going to take our right leg and we're going to cross it completely over that left leg. Take a deep breath in and slowly breathe out as you bring your legs over to your right. So you're going to rotate in the direction of the top leg. Now you're going to turn your head to your left and breathe and just let your body relax and surrender here to this position. Just like we did on the other side, we're getting a great stretch in our hips. We're rotating the hips, but really we're causing a chain reaction through the upper body as the upper body begins to relax, release, and open up here against the floor. And just notice as your shoulders begin to settle back, as your neck begins to relax, and even as your jaw muscles begin to relax here in this position. And we're here for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and bring your legs back to center and uncross your legs. I mentioned earlier that we did our first set of cats and dogs. Now we're going to get into our second set of cats and dogs, and we're going to see what we feel that's different here. So just go ahead and move that spine through the cat and the dog position. And just notice that you feel a little bit, maybe a little bit more fluid, a little bit more flexible. Make sure that you're exhaling in the cat and inhaling in the dog. Bringing the shoulder blades apart through the cat and bringing those shoulder blades together in the dog. Continuing to make this a hip-driven movement. Moving those hips in a full range of motion going both ways. And we're going to go through 2 more reps. Last one. And coming back to center, relax, and go ahead and stand up for our last movement of the day, which is going to be a standing squat. So simply stand with your feet pointed straight ahead. What that means is that you should be slightly pigeon-toed. So look down at yourself, and if you haven't already, toe those feet in slightly so that you're slightly pigeon-toed. Go ahead and bring those arms up to shoulder height and sit those hips back and down. So the front sides of your hips, the ASIS bones at this point, are lined up right on top of your ankle bones. So what that means, just showing this to you here from the side, so you should have a nice arch in the lower back, so we're not collapsed forward like this. So the back stays upright, the hips are hovering right directly above the ankles, and you're going to want to look straight ahead and keep those shoulder blades pinched together in the back. These squats obviously are working muscles of our hips, but we're also working all of the muscles along our spines. We're working our shoulder muscles here. Really, there's not a single muscle in our bodies that's not working right now during the total body squat. We're almost there. We're holding this for a full minute. Last 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And go ahead and come on up. And we are done with our movements. We do want to retest. Remember at the very beginning, we tested both balance and range of motion. Retest here for the balance first, standing with your eyes closed and your arms relaxed at your sides. Pay attention to the weight distribution in your feet and just notice what feels different here. The ideal weight distribution of the human body is equally balanced from right to left and evenly balanced from front to back. So notice any improvements in that weight distribution, and that really is a function of what we've done here in this sequence of movements, which is improve the alignment of the body's load joints, which we're now able to feel that in that improvement in our body's balance. Now our second test is range of motion. Keep those legs straight, bend over towards the floor, and notice what you're feeling here in comparison to what you felt at the very beginning of class. So maybe you're coming closer to the floor. Maybe you feel a little bit looser along the back sides of your legs. Whatever you're noticing there, whatever progress you're noticing there is great, and want to congratulate you on that, because I think that making micro improvements in one sitting like this is huge. And I encourage you to revisit this class and the other classes here on my YouTube channel as often as you can. And to wrap things up, I'm going to check my notes here to make sure that I say everything that I want to say. So first of all, I want to thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this style of movement, I want to invite you to check out my online program if you haven't already by visiting my website, just realignetherapy.com. I'm going to provide my website down in the comments below. And what you're going to see is my program. It's called the Posture Workout for those of you who are interested in committing to doing something like this every day. These on my Posture Workout program, distinct here from YouTube, these are going to be professionally produced videos where you can really clearly see and hear what I'm doing, that are accompanied by PDF written instructions so that you can refer back to them, all set to enjoyable music, and you can try it for free for 7 days. And I'll post, like I said, the link in the description below. And so I encourage you to check that out. And then on this video, please click the like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. When you subscribe, click the bell icon to receive notifications so that you know when I'm doing live videos like this and when I'm bringing new videos to you in the future. So thank you so much for joining me for today's class. This was really a pleasure. I absolutely love teaching these classes, love doing this. So let me know if you've enjoyed this. Let me know what else you would like to see. And I really look forward to seeing you again in the future. Until then, take care and see you soon.